Hey folks, Tim here. So I am here in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, actually, Lincoln, Nebraska. I flew into Omaha, Nebraska. I'm doing a workshop this week for a wonderful team, teaching them some instructional design, some articulate storyline, all of that stuff. And I love getting out into the real world and off of LinkedIn so I can actually see what's actually happening in the industry. I don't know if this is true for anybody else, but like LinkedIn feels like you're looking at the industry through a really distorted lens, you know? So it always like breathes life back into me when I get to go talk to a real instructional design team to find out like, oh yeah, normal stuff's still happening in this industry, you know? But today's video that I wanted to share, I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to some close friends of mine who work in the industry as freelancers, business owners, that sort of stuff. I wanted to share some of my thoughts on that because one of the things that I was really trying to find the right words to say this. One of the things that just really bothers me, okay, and I find slightly offensive, is when people talk about freelancing in this industry as if it's just some like really simple alternative to full-time work. As if like you could just go, I'm just gonna quit my job and freelance. You know what I mean? Like anybody could just decide to do that any given day of the week. You know what I mean? Or I'm just getting started. I can't find full-time work, so I'll just freelance. You know, I'm still figuring out. And don't get me wrong, there's some people who have successfully done that. I know a few people who have successfully done that, but they're the exception, not the rule. And the reason why I say this is because I don't think most people fully conceptualize and understand what it takes and what it means to be a freelancer. Freelancing isn't just a different type of job that you can choose to do. Freelancing is running a business. It's running a business. And all of the intricacies that go into running a business are a lot more than what people realize on the outside. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times people just view oh, I'm free from the corporate world. I get to work wherever and however I want. That's great. And then they totally ignore the financial aspect of it, the business aspect of it, the marketing aspects of it, the hustle aspect of it, the challenging aspects of it, the personal like mindfuck of it. You know what I mean? That people don't pay attention to. You know, one of the things that I've talked to, I've shared with friends who are close to me, both who freelance and don't freelance, is I don't think people realize that when you are like completely responsible for your livelihood, like it's just you're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, right, from an employer. You don't get to turn your brain off ever. You don't get the luxury of just not constantly thinking about it. You know, this is the way I've described it before. You know, when you're at a job, you're at work, and like you have those pockets of time. Maybe it's when your boss goes out for vacation or a conference, or you're in between projects at work or something. Like there's those little pockets of time where like you can just kind of slip and fly under the radar for a hot minute, you know, and like you're just kind of like keeping it on cruise control until it gets hot again, you know? Well, when you run your own business, okay, and you're freelancing, rarely do you get that luxury, you know? And you might be thinking, well, if you're busy and you're making money, then you can train. No, you don't, because you're more often than not when you're freelancing, when you have an abundance of business, you take on more business than you have time for. So then you overwork yourself because you don't want to you need to capitalize as much as you can. And so you're busy, crazy doing that because you're preparing for the next period of time where there is no business. You know what I mean? Because that's the other thing. There's always going to be like slumps, right? It's rarely ever just like an even signal of business where you can kind of just, you know, exist. You know, it's this constant hustle of thinking about where's the next client going to come from? How am I going to make money next quarter or next year? Or what do I need to be doing now to prepare for what's going to be different tomorrow? You know what I mean? And like with AI and all the other bullshit, like it feels like we wake up and the rules change every single day. And I don't think most people recognize when they talk about freelancing as just I'm just going to quit and become a freelancer. I don't think they recognize how much that weighs on you and how much more you have to be like really tuned into it in order to run your business, you know? When I quit my full-time job and I started freelancing full-time, I had a year's worth of my pay in the bank account, okay? And it took me 10 years, almost a decade, in order to have that money in my bank account to pay off all of my debt, to build my brand, to build my reputation, to build my skill set, to do all of those things in order to prepare myself in order to successfully freelance, right? I overcompensated in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of people who successfully freelance and they don't do a fraction of those things. They don't have a year's worth of their pay or what have you, right? But I share that because I think people don't also recognize how absolutely terrifying it is when you do decide to quit regular work, okay? And that first week, the 2-3 weeks afterwards, you don't have a paycheck hitting your account. You don't have health insurance to cover you. You don't have somebody matching a 401k. You don't have a 401k to put money into, right? I don't think people recognize that. And you might have a year's worth of pay in your bank account, like I did, and it's still scary as it really is. And so the thing I guess I want to challenge a lot of you to think about is recognize that freelancing's not for everybody. It takes a lot of gumption and dedication and persistence and talent and time and persistence and a willingness to put yourself in a lot of uncomfortable situations. And it also takes a mindset of recognizing, and I know I've said this already many times before, you're not just working a job, you're running a business, you know? Are you prepared to hustle and market yourself and your services and put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, whether it's speaking at a conference, speaking at a local event, reaching out to potential clients, creating content, doing all of the things that any other business would do in order to market themselves? Are you prepared to really clearly describe to a client what you're really great at? And are you really great at it? Because here's the thing. Clients don't hire freelancers to train them. Clients don't hire freelancers to furnish their tools and software. Do you have that? You know what I mean? Like if you're hiring somebody to come install hardwood floors in your house, you would fire them the second they were like, I'm still getting up and running with, how to install hardwood floors or how to use a jack wrench. I don't know, I'm making that up, right? Oh, by the way, do you have a jack wrench? Are you going to provide that to me? Or do I need to pay for that, right? Like you would be like, bye, I'm going to go hire somebody who knows what they're doing. So do you know what you're doing? And are you prepared to do it and hit the ground running from day one? Because when somebody hires a freelancer, they're either hiring because they have a lack of capability on their team or a lack of capacity. And in either instance, you're there to take something off their plate and do it from square one. Are you prepared to throw upwards of 40% back to the government? Are you prepared to estimate how much money you're going to make in any given year because you have to pay quarterly taxes based off of how much you're estimating you're going to make? Oh my God, I wasn't prepared for that when I first started. I had no idea. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Are you prepared to figure out how to go get your own health insurance or to become an S Corp so you can lower your tax burden? Are you prepared to write a contract? Have you ever written a contract or negotiated a rate? Do you know how much your talents and skills are worth within the industry? These are questions that you need to know the answer to because clients aren't going to hold your hand and walk you through it because freelancing is a business-to-business transaction, right? So I know this is a long video. I'm just sharing it because freelancing's great. I'm not complaining about freelancing. It sounds like I am. I'm really not. I love freelancing. You couldn't drag my dead body back into a corporate office. But if it's something you've thought about, whether it's because you really want to do it or it's because maybe you're having a hard time finding full-time work, and you're like, maybe I'll just become a freelancer, right? You just need to know what you're signing up for. it's not just an alternative to regular work, because it's not a job, it's running a business. And running a business is way more intricate than just being an employee, you know? So, yeah. All right, for any of my freelance friends out there, let me know, like, what are the things, here's my question, and if you're still listening, oh my God, thank you, 10 minutes in, what is it that you wish everyone else knew about freelancing? Okay, let me know. Wish me luck with my workshop this week. I'll talk to you all later. I'll see you on the other side, whatever, bye.